Oh, you're so sweet, I swear. Te mando un besito.
All right, we're on Disco Acid Cult TV. Happy Wednesday, I guess. I should start saying happy whatever day it is. That seems like a pretty safe and easy and cliche intro. Dude, it's got to be like 85 degrees in my room right now. That's also becoming a cliche of the show, is for me to start off by talking about how hot it is in my room and how if you can hear the fan blowing into my microphone, I don't even care anymore. I don't even care. Consider the fan the nice soothing sound of the background, because it's just going to be there. It's just going to be there all year. I should start live streaming and just doing streams where I don't talk and I just have the fan on. That's what I should do. We should just do, what's the word, dulcet? Like here's your dulcet sounds of the fan in my room. Dulcet is totally not the word. Goddamn, what's the word I'm looking for? What's the word? They say like something sounds like the something sounds of this or that. Oh, this is terrible. I can never remember the names of anything as soon as it's time to get on the stream. No, I'm totally right. Dulcet is the word. All right, yeah. We're going to start doing live streams where it's just the dulcet sounds of the fan in my room that does nothing but blow hot air all around. I'm also solo tonight. I was not planning on it. That's also pretty much a theme of the show now, where I'm not planning on being solo, but then I end up being solo. Dude, I don't even believe the internet anymore. These jokes on the internet about how everybody who wants a podcast and everybody who wants a YouTube channel and everybody who wants to just sit and talk on a talk show. Every joke you see, every other joke on the internet is all about how, oh, everybody wants to have a live stream and a podcast. Yeah, I cannot seem to find a consistent co-host like to save my fucking life. So I don't know where all these millions of people are that want podcasts and YouTube channels and live streams, but they're not here. I don't believe it anymore. And then the other one is that girls nowadays just throw themselves at anybody over 6 feet tall. Whereas I've been 6'3" since high school. And I don't know, where are these girls? They're not here. I can tell you that much. They're not here. Where are all of these aspiring YouTubers and podcast hosts and girls that will date losers as long as they're over 6 feet tall? Because I can't find any of these people. I don't even think the internet is real anymore. I think the internet is just making up jokes at this point. It's just not true. You guys got to stop looking at the internet and believing these fucking jokes, because there are none of these people around. They don't exist. And I live in California too, so don't even give me that one. Don't even be like, oh yeah, bro, they're all in California. Yeah, I fucking live in California. These people are not real. These jokes are not real. At this point, I'm just going to start doing live streams and title them, do you want to co-host this with me? And like whoever winds up in chat, whoever sends the funniest message in chat, I will straight up send you a laptop and a microphone, and you will just become the new co-host, like sight unseen. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're funny. I don't care if you're ugly. Just say something funny in chat, and I will just send you a fucking microphone. And then on top of all this, I can't seem to stop talking about Sabrina Carpenter. So I guess I have to do this one already. And of course I put that first in the title. Damn, that was a fuck up. I should have saved that for later. But all right, Sabrina Carpenter. Let me pull up this fucking tweet. I think I'm pretty late to this news. All the news I'm talking about today, I'm pretty late to. So whatever. Yeah, Sabrina Carpenter. She basically got bullied so bad about her album cover that she decided to release an alternate album cover. You know, we talked about her album cover. It was like her on her hands and knees with a guy pulling her by the hair. And the girls online did not like that one. So I guess there's going to be this alternate album cover. I mean, I guess it's genius because now she's just going to sell twice as many albums. People are going to be buying the original album cover and this album cover. I don't actually know if it's that one or this one. She put up 2 of these pictures and said this was going to be her alternate album cover. I think it's kind of ridiculous that we used to live in a time where like Marilyn Manson was releasing album covers that people were freaking out over, but now it's Sabrina Carpenter who's so edgy that she is offending people on the internet now. But it's funny how when Marilyn Manson was offending people, he was offending old people and like grown-ups and adults. And nowadays it's like young adults and teenagers who are so offended. It's really pussy. It's really fucking pussy. There's actually a great quote by the great Joe Bob Briggs. He said in an interview, I don't remember what year it was, but he gave an interview where he said, you know, Joe Bob Briggs has been doing TV since like the 90s, basically. Might have even been since the 80s, but Joe Bob Briggs has been on TV for a long time, and he was saying that way back in the day, every time he would do a show, you know, his team would tell him, you know, be careful what you say, you don't want to offend the old people. But today, you know, he's doing his show, it's on Shudder, and he says he's constantly being told by his team, you know, be careful what you say, you might offend the young people. And I think that speaks complete volumes about where we're at as a society. That for basically for all of time, it's been the old people that get offended over everything. You know, the old people get needlessly offended. But now don't worry, the teenagers and the young adults have become so pussy that they've taken the mantle when it comes to being offended by everything. So basically, everybody's offended by Sabrina Carpenter's new album cover. So she released an alternate cover. The funny thing about the album cover is that, you know, the original one, it was deemed not feminist enough when it's like, since when has Sabrina Carpenter been a feminist? I don't recall Sabrina Carpenter ever coming out and saying that she's going to be like this feminist icon. I don't think she's ever claimed that status. Right. But it's all these young adults that will force their, you know, I've talked about this all the time too. They will force their ideas and their beliefs onto their favorite celebrities because they just can't fathom a world where their favorite celebrities don't think the same way as them. So if I'm like a 19-year-old girl who, you know, calls myself a feminist and I like Sabrina Carpenter, well, I have to just assume that she is also a feminist because God forbid, you know, she think differently than I do, or God forbid she doesn't spend all of her fucking waking moments thinking about modern day feminism, which is, you know, there's a whole rant I could go on about that too, but I'm not going to be on here all night. I'll probably just do like an hour on here tonight because I'm going to sweat like an ocean by the time this hour's even up. But yeah, like I said, realistically, it's just genius on Sabrina Carpenter's part to just release an alternate cover because now she's just going to sell twice as many albums. You know, the best part is that all these people that are acting offended by her original album cover, they're still going to buy it. They're going to buy the original album cover and they're going to buy this one too. You know, and they're just going to not tell their friends, or they're going to post online about how, you know, they only bought the alternate album cover because, you know, the original one's not feminist enough for them. It's fucking retarded. It's absolutely fucking retarded. I just don't understand why so many young people want to waste all this time being offended by shit. I really don't get it. You know, you have your whole lives to be offended by shit. You know, you should be like in your 40s. You should be like in your mid to late 40s before you start getting offended by things like Sabrina Carpenter not being as feminist as you want her to be. This makes no sense to me. I couldn't imagine thinking like that. I couldn't imagine wasting all my time thinking about Sabrina Carpenter's new album cover, not being the representation of feminism that I want it to be. As if you couldn't tell what was coming anyways, right? Who listened to Short and Sweet and thought her next album's going to be a perfect representation of feminism, If anything, that's why I like Sabrina Carpenter, because she's not out here trying to pretend like she's this fucking hardcore, feminist. She's really not. She's, like I said, she's just doing pop music. She's just doing the whole sex sells pop music thing. And I think it's fine. I think it's fun. I think it's cool. Leave her alone. All these fucking kids on the internet. I guess that's a quickie. I'm gonna blow by these two first topics. I think the last two topics I'll say the most about, and then I actually might have a third one that I might sneak in just because I just passed by it earlier today and I thought it was really funny. But for the next one, I've got this motherfucker. Everybody should remember this motherfucker. Steve, the original Blues Clues host, is starting a podcast, and it's called Alive. That's a terrible name. I don't know why he would call it Alive, but yeah, the podcast is described as continuation of the beloved kids show that will tackle adulthood and what it means to stay human in a complicated world. Let's be realistic. It's just going to be a show about how, like, Donald Trump is a bad person. That's kind of what I'm expecting. It's just going to be like another generic celebrity political podcast, is what I'm assuming. I would hope not. I would hope it is going to be cooler than that. But when you get a description, like what it means to stay human in a complicated world, like, dude, it's just going to be like, celebrity surface level politics. Like, that's all it's going to be. And it's going to be a bummer because I loved Blues Clues when I was a kid. I loved Blues Clues. I loved Steve. I remember when Steve left. And I was like, oh no, this isn't for me anymore. Actually, what year did Steve leave? Let me make sure I actually have that right. 2002. I probably wasn't watching. I don't know. Maybe I was watching Blues Clues in 2002. I would have been in second grade, or I would have been graduating second grade. So I would have been either. I don't remember if I would have either been in first. And yeah. In 2002, I would have either been in first or second grade. In 2002. It is a genius business move to capitalize on because nostalgia is the biggest hype right now. You will get a lot of fucking 30-year-olds listening to this podcast, that's for sure. So I will give him that. It is a genius move to start a podcast if you're the original host of Blues Clues. People my age have not shut the fuck up about Steve from Blues Clues, like, ever. He's, like, always somehow been a trending topic among people my age that thrive on nostalgia content. But like I said, it's going to be the, the subject matter of the podcast. Like I said, I will predict that it's just going to be surface level celebrity, political talk. It's going to be no different than like if Kim Kardashian started a podcast and wanted to talk about politics or social commentary or whatever. It looks like there actually is an article. So let me, on Variety. Man, I for some reason hate Variety because I mean, I hate every website nowadays that are just like full of pop-ups and ads, and at least it's Pepsi. Looks like we're looking at CM Punk. Yeah, Steve Burns, original Blues Clues host, is launching a podcast for grown-ups that's a continuation of the beloved kids show. 51, Steve Burns is still searching for clues about the meaning of life. And they're really hyping up the subject matter of this podcast. It really worries me. Burns, the actor, musician, and writer, best known as the original host of Nickelodeon's Blues Clues, is launching an original podcast with Lemonade Media. I've never heard of any of these. Anytime I find a podcast or listen to a podcast, I don't know any of the names of the media companies that are like producing these podcasts. Like they're all just like on these, like Lemonade Media. What the fuck is that? I guess it's a thing. You know, they just cited it and didn't say anything else about it. Yeah, in the fall of 2025, Alive is a weekly show in which Burns and his guests will discuss what it means to stay human in a complicated world. Talk about a vague fucking description. The podcast will touch on themes including morality. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We're getting into absolute celebrity, like bullshit, surface level politics. The podcast will touch on themes including mortality, masculinity, loneliness, and success. So there's definitely going to be like an Andrew Tate episode. You know, like we're gonna get Steve from Blues Clues talking about how, you know, like smoking cigars shirtless is not the way to go about things. Which I will say I agree. If you're looking to be a real man, smoking cigars shirtless is not your top priority. But I don't feel the need to make a podcast about it. That's kind of what I'm getting at. I don't think we need a podcast to tell us that that's not the way to go. The inspiration for the podcast came after he shared a viral inspirational video for Nick Jr.'s promotion of the 25th anniversary of Blues Clues in 2021. It was a moment when Burns found himself in conversation again with tens of millions of grown-up fans who still considered him a friend. That's also a weird thing. People need to stop considering themselves friends with celebrities. I think that's been kind of a side effect of Twitter. Yeah, smoking cigarettes is true. Smoking cigarettes is the top priority. If you want to be a real man, you do need to smoke cigarettes. Not cigars, but cigarettes. Here's how Burns describes what he aims to do with the podcast. Okay, see, I didn't even know there was an article. I didn't even scroll down on that tweet to find the article, so I'm glad I found this. There are 1,000 podcasts you can listen to. Yeah, and I can't find a co-host. Dear God. There are definitely a million podcasts to listen to, and a million people that, if you listen to the internet, want to host podcasts. And I somehow miraculously cannot find reliable fucking help around here. Let's see. He says, I really want to continue what we started decades ago. For us, it was all about curious investigation. It was about looking a little closer, about asking the right questions, about following the clues that helped lead us toward greater understanding. Man, these people really know how to be dramatic about like nothing. Like Blue's Clues was awesome, but I mean, it was a fucking show about uh, finding like where I don't even fucking know. It was about finding shit that you lost in the house. And we got this guy telling us it's about fucking leading us to greater understanding. Maybe that's what I'm not good at. Maybe I'm not good at like being dramatic about everything like that. Alive is really just a continuation of that same conversation. Only now we're grown-ups trying to make sense of a world that's a whole lot more complicated. We're still searching, still learning, still trying to connect, still doing our best to lead deeply examined lives together. And you know, there'll be less talking furniture, sure, but we're still going to have a lot of fun along the way. No, that's a mistake. I think, if anything, he should have talking furniture in this podcast. That's going to be the missing key, I bet, is the lack of talking furniture. Burns starred as a fictional character, or fictional version of himself on Nick Jr.'s Blue's Clues, more than 100 episodes, 1996 to 2002. Since then, Burns has released indie rock albums. I knew he was in a band. I knew that was like one of the reasons he quit, was to kind of pursue music, among other things. Burns recently announced Steve Burns Alive. He really likes that word, alive. His debut solo show for adult audiences, written by Burns and Matthew Freeman and directed by Freeman. The pop-up performance will run in July at the club at La Mama. Is that what the place is called? La Mama? In Manhattan's East Village neighborhood. Adults need to be shepherded through life just as much as kids do, and Steve is the perfect person to do it, said Jessica Cordova. He tapped right into your inner child, helping listeners feel delight, comfort, and curiosity. I think adults need to stop feeling delight and comfort and curiosity. I think that's kind of a problem with the world today, is too many adults are just consistently seeking things like delight, comfort, and curiosity. Yeah, Blue's Clues was just Steve and the blue dog, and it would be like, oh, I can't find my keys. Where'd I put my keys? And then you would just like, Blue would know where the keys were, but Steve didn't. And so Blue would lead you to the keys somewhere in the house throughout a series of clues, like, oh, check in the fridge. And then there'd be a note in the fridge that would say, oh, check in the trash can. And then there'd be a note that would say, oh, check on the front porch. And then, oh, there's the keys. Oh, I read it wrong. It's not Lemonade Media. It's Lemonada? Lemonada? And who's coming up with these names too? But yeah, I guess that's it. That's my prediction for the new Blues Clues related podcast. It's just going to be surface level political talk and social commentary. It's just going to be Steve talking about, Donald Trump. It'll be veiled though, right? Like, he'll never actually say Donald Trump, but you'll get it's going to be like if any other celebrity hosted a podcast, you know. And they're going to claim that it's like for everybody. They're going to claim that it's, like I don't want to say nonpartisan, because it's obviously not. It's not going to be painted as a political show, but it's going to get into topics that kind of border on that, which I think is a bummer, because everything is political nowadays, which I hate more than anything. But yeah, when you read the podcast, we'll touch on themes including mortality, masculinity, and loneliness. Like, where that's going to go. I don't know if I want to hear Steve from Blue's Clues talking about masculinity. That doesn't really tickle my fancy too much just by the sound of it. I hope I'm wrong. Don't get me wrong. As with many things I talk about here, I do hope I'm wrong. I hope it is better than what I'm expecting. I just, I've been let down too many times by celebrities that I liked, or that I used to like, or that I still like. It's kind of the world we live in. Celebrities just constantly let me down when they start podcasts talking about masculinity and loneliness. What did I put next? I think I put Texas. Yeah, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre thing. I feel like I don't talk about horror movies as much as I should on this channel, so here's my chance. If it were Steve actually giving solid life advice from a philosophical and practical perspective. Yeah, if that's what it turns out to be, that'll be cool. Like I said, I hope I'm wrong. I hope that's what it turns out to be. I don't get my hopes up anymore with these things, you know? Um, like, I bet $5 that, yeah, it's gonna be Steve from Blue's Clues talking about, Steve certainly will think it's philosophical and, life advice from, a practical perspective or whatever, but I would bet $5 it's just gonna be another celebrity talking about, like, damn near political and social commentary, whatever the words are. Yeah, alright, something that I'm definitely super late on, yeah, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre thing. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, first of all, I don't know why they're working on a new movie. We just got a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie in 2022. It was the movie that was, I think it was produced by Netflix. I know it was released direct to Netflix, but it was terrible. It was awful. And it's not, that's not even just me being negative like I am about everything. Everybody knew it was awful. Everybody said it was awful. In the 2022 Texas Chainsaw Massacre, basically these kids, like young adults, might have even been like 18, 19-year-olds, like really young kids, bought a town in Texas. I've never even heard of such a thing. They basically bought a town, like it was this town that was kind of run down, and some rich kid came along and bought the entire town with the goal of, like opening up businesses and bringing this town back to life. And the way he worded it in the movie was even stranger. He said he wanted to like start this. I don't know if he used the word utopia, but he wanted to bring in kids his age and have them all open up businesses in this rundown, dead Texas town in the middle of the back roads, in the middle of nowhere. Terrible, like the weirdest plot you've ever heard of. And these kids get there, and Leatherface shows up and starts killing kids, and they brought back the original final girl from the very first movie, and they really did her dirty, and I think just completely disrespected her and her legacy in like the worst way. Sally, in my opinion, is the greatest final girl of all time, and they treated her like trash. And when I say treated her like trash, I mean literally Leatherface killed her very easily and threw her body into a pile of trash in the movie. Like, it was awful. It's absolutely terrible. And yeah, that was in 2022. So I don't know why they're already working on a new Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise is kind of like one of the worst things ever, considering that the original movie from 1974 is actually the greatest horror film of all time. Like, I say on an objective level, I say objectively, the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre is the greatest horror film ever made, and probably will always be the greatest horror film ever made. It's like not even close. Even today in 2025, no one's even come close to touching it. But the franchise as a whole is embarrassing. Um, I think it's like the best example of that, where the original movie is, you know, one of the greatest pieces of art ever made. Quentin Tarantino calls it a perfect movie, right? Quentin Tarantino has talked about how there's very few films that you could consider perfect films, and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is one of those movies that he considers a perfect movie, because it is. It's a perfect movie. Um, the second movie was good. I actually like that one a lot, and a lot of people agree. Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2 from 1986 is a really good movie. It's a really good sequel, very different, directed by Tobe Hooper, the guy who made the original. But then right after that, you start getting into bad territory. It gets bad. And then you don't see anything good again until the remake in 2003. All of the fan base tends to agree there too, that was a pretty good as far as remakes go. The 2003 Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake is pretty solid. It is pretty good. I have it on DVD. I think I like it. It's a good solid, you know, in the early 2000s, we got a lot of horror remakes, and it's one of the better ones. And then in 2006, we got a prequel to the 2003 remake. The timeline, you know, horror movies are notorious for their timelines being all wonky and shit. But yeah, 2006, you get the prequel to the 2003 Texas Chainsaw remake, Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginning. And that's also a really good movie. And a lot of the fan base, it's a little bit more argued, but generally, you do see a lot online that a lot of Texas Chainsaw fans like the 2006 movie. They like The Beginning. It is a really good film. And then after that, you go right back to shit. You go right back to bad. The next couple of movies are just terrible. They're embarrassing. Then we get to 2022. It's no exception. It's a terrible, like god awful, like one of the worst, I would say. So I don't know why they're so eager to make a new one already in 2025. It's only been 3 years. Like, give them a fucking break. So they're working on a new one, and there's a couple people who are, there's a bidding war going on. This is how things work with these franchises, is these companies and people come in and they bid and they try to, you know, purchase the rights to the name, to the franchise, to make a new movie. And some of the leading names are A24, I guess specifically Glenn Powell from A24. Then you have Osgood Perkins from Neon. Then you have Taylor Sheridan along with Paramount, and Jordan Peele. And I don't like any of those. I think those all sound really bad. I have a, you know, kind of a, I don't want to say like a list of least to best or best to worst, but okay, so A24. Oh, Netflix is also on the list. Dear God, do not let Netflix make another Texas Chainsaw movie. A24. I don't see that being good. A24 is known for like very artsy fartsy movies. A24 made Hereditary, which is a really good movie, but that's not the vibe that Texas Chainsaw Massacre needs to be. You know, we don't need an artsy fartsy Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. That's not what the franchise is about or what it's supposed to be. Neon, I think the same thing. Neon would be a very artsy fartsy, and I like Neon. Neon makes a movie, or made a movie called, at least I think they did. Let me see. Yeah, Neon produced Ennis, Maine, which is, yeah, Hereditary is awesome. Hereditary is great. But like I said, it's just, it's great in a literally a completely different way than Texas Chainsaw Massacre was great. Neon made a movie called Ennis, Maine. And actually, let me pull this up just because I'm here and I want to kill a little bit of time. There's this movie called Ennis, Maine that came out in 2023. I'm gonna make you guys watch the trailer right now. It's a really fucking cool movie. I know I'm saying the word Ennis, Maine, and you're probably thinking, what the fuck? It's ENYS space MEN. So it looks like Ennis Men, but it's pronounced Maine. It's like a Cornish movie, I think. I think it's it takes place on like an island in Cornwall. It takes place on like an island in Cornwall, England. I discovered this movie from a Facebook ad. It was a Facebook ad promoting the movie, and it described it as The Shining if it took place on like an abandoned island. And of course, I was interested. So I checked this movie out, and I'm like obsessed with it. I have it on DVD. I mean, shit, I might even watch it tonight now that I'm talking about it. It's basically just this lady volunteers to do some kind of like nature work, like preservation on this island. And she finds this fucking plant, and this plant kind of has like some shit in it, and it makes you go crazy. I mean, that's like, there's no description to this movie. Like, it's just the artsy fartsiest of movies. I fucking love it though. But you see this, and just keep in mind, this is the type of shit Neon does. And just Texas Chainsaw Massacre needs nothing to do with this type of like style.
Are you lonely? Not really. Are you there? Can you hear me? Hello? Is there anybody there? Hello? Hello? Who's there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, really cool shit. One of my favorite, like, recently made horror films. All the words, all the dialogue you heard in that trailer is like pretty much all the dialogue in the whole movie. Like, there's probably less than 100 words said throughout the entire movie. It's a very like dialogue light, very light in the dialogue movie. It's mostly like sounds and noises and shit. It's one of those movies that it takes place out of order because the whole thing is kind of like a hallucination. So it's weird. It's a weird movie to like fall asleep while watching and wake up in the middle of. There's only like 3 characters in the movie too. And one of the characters might even just be like the younger version of the main character. But so like I'm pretty sure there's a scene, I haven't watched it in a while, but there's a scene where one of the characters dies, and then like 2 or 3 scenes later, the character is just back. He just kind of walks in, and you're like, what the fuck? I thought this guy died. But it's because the movie takes place like completely out of order, like in as far as the days go. It's just a real trip of a movie. But again, like I said, that's not what Texas Chainsaw Massacre needs. I think Neon also did Long Legs. Yeah, and I did not see Long Legs, but that movie came out last year, and it had Nicolas Cage in it, and it looked kind of like a, not as artsy fartsy, but you know, it looked pretty artsy. Certainly more than what Texas Chainsaw Massacre needs. Taylor Sheridan. I don't really know who that is. People on the internet are so there's kind of 2 people that most people are freaking out about. Nerds are freaking out about Taylor Sheridan because he made a series called Yellowstone, and people have described it as like pro-America propaganda. I've seen people call him Trump coded, which I hate those terms when people call something like something coded. Just like, shut the fuck up. Like, people talk about queer coded or MAGA coded, or it's like, shut up, dude. The thing that's funny is looking, just when you Google Taylor Sheridan, it seems like this guy makes like redneck shit. Like, this guy's wearing a fucking cowboy hat, and he's known for a series called Yellowstone, and people describe his stuff as pro-America propaganda. So I'm like, well, wait a minute. Is this guy not the best? Because he would be doing Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So if this guy is out here wearing cowboy hats, making like, you know, what nerds would call pro-America propaganda, I would assume he understands like the South, like he probably understands like Texas culture, more than anybody else on the list. So even though I don't know who this guy is or really, any of his work, I would put my money on this guy to do it. Like literally, literally just based on the fact that he's wearing a cowboy hat. I would say give him Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Oh yeah, and this guy was born in Texas, it looks like. Dude, yeah, what the fuck is wrong with these people? Give this guy the movie, give this guy the franchise. If anybody's gonna make the next Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it should be a guy who was actually born in Texas and like wears cowboy hats and like understands Southern culture. So then, yeah, of course, there are people on the internet who are, they don't want to see pro-America propaganda, whatever the fuck that means, whatever the fuck that has to do with Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Jordan Peele is the name that makes me the most nervous. If there's a God in heaven, he will keep Jordan Peele away from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That would bum me out so bad. Jordan Peele, if he gets it, he would only be producing it. He wouldn't be directing it or writing it that we know of. But dear God, keep Jordan Peele away from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Nobody wants a racist Leatherface. Nobody wants a black Leatherface. Nobody wants, Leatherface that goes out and specifically, takes on black people. Like, it's just nobody. Stay away from all that. That's not at all what we need with Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's not, I've seen people try to say that, oh, well, Jordan Peele does really good, like social issues in movies. Like he tackles really good, basically social commentary. And yeah, there is a good bit of social commentary in the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But it's not that kind of, it's not that brand or that kind of social commentary. I just that one makes me the most nervous. I really don't want to live to see the day we get a fucking Jordan Peele produced Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That sounds like the worst thing we could ever get. In Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the franchise has already gotten pretty bad. It's already gone pretty far downhill as far as the franchise goes. Like, we don't need to go down the route of whatever fucking route Jordan Peele would take it down. Like I said, dear God, keep Jordan Peele away from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I will pray for this every night. I don't believe in God, but I will start praying for this. Yeah, like I said, I don't know who Taylor Sheridan is. I don't know. I've never watched Yellowstone. But the guy wears a cowboy hat. That's good enough for me. Right? You Google Jordan, or you Google Taylor Sheridan, you see a picture of a guy in a cowboy hat who was born in Texas. I say, fuck it, give him Texas Chainsaw Massacre. What's he gonna do? Oh, he's gonna make it redneck. He's gonna make it, he's gonna make it Southern. Like, yeah, actually, that's what we need. We need to go back to a Texas Chainsaw Massacre that actually looks like it takes place in Texas. Which has been a flaw of all of the recent movies, is they're not even actually fucking shot in Texas. And that sounds like a stupid complaint. You can shoot movies anywhere nowadays, but part of the reason the original was great is because it fucking looked like it was shot in Texas, because it was shot in fucking Texas. Like that does make a difference, where movies are shot. So yeah, fuck it. I'd put my money on that Taylor Sheridan guy. Give him the fucking franchise. Let him make a movie. It's not like, it can't get much worse, except for if we give it to Jordan Peele, is I think basically what I'm getting at with it. And I don't dislike Jordan Peele, I have Jordan Peele movies on my shelf over here. I think Us is a really good movie. That's his best movie, by the way. I know there's the debate, which of his 3 movies is the best. It's Us. Us was his best movie for sure. Nope was way too grandiose. Nope, honestly, was like a fine movie, but that's like the worst of his like trying to cram all these topics into a movie. And it's like, okay, dude, I like artsy fartsy stuff as much as the next guy, but Nope was a bit much. And I would not want to see Texas Chainsaw Massacre go down that route of having all this like unnecessary stuff crammed into it for the sake of social commentary in a film. I wasn't planning on, and I won't bring up too much about it, but I guess they're working on a new 007 movie too. And that also really bums me out because it's now owned by Amazon. The next James Bond film we're going to be getting is an Amazon production, and that bums me out entirely. It's going to be the first 007 film. All the 007 films were produced by the Broccoli family, which I hate having to say because, the word broccoli is their last name. Let me see. Let me look up the franchise really quick. Yeah, obviously it's based off a novel, Ian Fleming, but who produced? What's the family's name? I don't know. It's like something broccoli. They were all produced by most of them were produced by Eon Productions up in the beginning, and Eon Productions. Yeah, Barbara Broccoli. She's like one of the main people that was always associated with the films. Was this lady named Barbara Broccoli, and her brother. It says with her half brother Michael G. Wilson, Broccoli held overall creative control of the Bond film franchise until 2025. Yeah, she sold it to Amazon. So now Amazon is working on the 007 franchise, and that, that makes me like entirely nervous about what the next James Bond movie is going to look like. So right now they've been discussing like who's going to be the next person to play James Bond. God. And Tom Holland is one of them. Tom Holland is like one of the front runners rumored to play the next James Bond, which means we would be getting Tom Holland as James Bond, and I guarantee we'd be getting Zendaya as the next Bond girl. Oh man. Just like fucking let me leave this world before the next 007 movie comes out if we're getting fucking Tom Holland as the next James Bond. There's another guy who I don't even actually know this guy's name. Jacob Elordi is also discussed. I mean, just based on the look, I prefer this guy over Tom Holland. I could say that for sure if I have to pick between those two. This guy might be able to pull it off. I don't know who this guy is though. Saltburn. Yeah, I didn't see that. This guy was in Euphoria. Oh, this guy is supposed to be in the new Frankenstein movie coming out this year too. Yeah, Tom Holland does look like too much of a dork. He looks like a dorky kid. Good for Spider-Man. That's the thing, right? Spider-Man and James Bond, those are like two completely different. Like they're on like the opposite end of the spectrum for like, like a male character or like a male protagonist. You can't. Come on, Peter Parker and James Bond. Those are like two names that do not belong on the same resume. It just sounds ridiculous. Tom Holland. Especially you got to keep in mind like the reputation of these guys. You know what I mean? Like we have too much footage of Tom Holland like being dorky during interviews to, like it'd be unbelievable. Like you'd go sit down in the theater, watch this kid being James Bond, and then like remember the interview with him where he meets the girl from Watch Mojo and he like nerds out over her doing the voice. And it's these fucking creative people in Hollywood, like I don't know who gives these people these jobs. Like the people who are in charge of casting the next James Bond are, you know, definitely multi-millionaires, and like this is what they're doing with their lives. Like these guys are getting millions of dollars to sit around and say, yeah, Tom Holland should play James Bond. God, it's fucking terrible. And then I guess the other third name who's potentially in the running is Harris Dickinson, who I also don't know. No, not at all. No way. This is fucking awful. Jesus Christ. Are you fucking kidding me? Yeah, I guess if it has to be one of those three, I hope it's that Jacob Elordi guy. I hope it's that fucking Jacob Elordi guy. Man, what a fucking world. I could have been born into a timeline where, like, I was 31 when the Sean Connery James Bond movies were coming out. I think about that all the time. Like, all the timelines I could have been born into, you know? Like, I could have been born in 1965. And I would have been a young adult when the Cars were touring around America, like, in their prime. You know, I could have gone and seen the Cars. Could have spent, like, $5 to $10 on a ticket and gone and seen the Cars. But instead, I was born into this timeline where I might get Tom Holland as James Bond. And I also might get a Jordan Peele Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Could have also been born into a timeline where, you know, I got to go to a drive-in theater and see the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But no, I was born into a timeline where I might get a Jordan Peele produced Texas Chainsaw Massacre instead. Oh, it's all terrible stuff. The last thing I had before I go was the M3gan movie. I saw the new M3gan film, M3gan 2.0. It actually wasn't bad. I guess people aren't liking it though. The producer from Blumhouse, you know, Blumhouse produced it, and Jason Blum even straight up made a statement, like basically explaining like why the movie sucked, which is crazy. It's been getting bad reviews. People don't like it. And it's not doing so hot at the box office, I guess. M3gan 2.0 saw $10.2 million domestically and just $6.958 million internationally during its launch weekend, which suggests the first M3gan movie released in December 2022 may have been a lightning in a bottle moment with its eventual $180 million global haul. IGN's M3gan 2.0 review returned a 6 out of 10. We said M3gan 2.0 hot swaps horror for sci-fi / action to mixed result, but M3gan's absolute heinous wit and killer moves leave her and not the new genre as the star of the film. But why did M3gan 2.0 flop so hard? CEO of Blumhouse Productions, Jason Blum, appeared on the latest episode of The Town with Matthew Bologna. That looks like Bologna. That'd be very unfortunate if his name is Matthew Bologna. Oh yeah, so Jason Blum says, I've been in pain all weekend long, and I've been thinking about all this stuff way too much. Blum began in the 20-minute chat. If Blumhouse is in a slump, I'd like to tell that story. I don't want other people telling that story. Blum revealed that 10 weeks before launch, M3gan 2.0 was tracking to open to 45 million. And we were seriously talking about how amazing it would be for the little movie M3gan to outgross F1. But those predictions went downhill fast. With 8 weeks to go, it was 40. At 6 weeks, it was 35. At 4 weeks, it was 30. The first movie did 32 million. We had an in. We thought we'd do maybe 20% less than the first movie, so 30 was good. International, same thing. 5 days before opening, it goes from 30 to 20. That's Monday. So then I was upset. Thursday, we were really at 20, maybe 18. And I was in a death spiral of depression. Wake up Monday and it's 10. We all thought M3gan was like Superman. We could do anything to her. We could change genres. We could put her into Summer. We can make her look different. We could turn her from a bad guy into a good guy. And we classically overthought how powerful people's engagement was with her. We decided to genre swap. The audience was not ready to genre swap. People wanted more M3gan, just like she is. This is a reference to M3gan 2.0 being less of a thriller horror like the first film and more of an action comedy. Clearly, that didn't work. He says, the second thing is we thought she could live in the summer. We thought we're going from a little horror movie to a tent pole. When you genre switch, your execution has to be A+. We did get a higher cinema score on this M3gan than our last M3gan. The few who saw it really liked it. The critics were mixed, a little worse than the first M3gan. We got too excited by M3gan, and she didn't work. That's what happened. It's almost like they relied on marketing. What's up, Fizz? More than making a good movie. Well, I was going to say with the first one, yeah, she does look like a PS2 character. The first M3gan, I liked the first M3gan. It was like a fun little movie. But I think basically what happened is they got caught up in, remember when the first M3gan came out, there's that scene where she does that little dance. And that became a famous TikTok. Like M3gan was a TikTok trend for a couple of weeks. And so it got really big. And I think they probably got caught up in that. The first movie, I don't know. I saw debates on whether it was really a horror movie or not. It was like shot like a horror movie, but really it was, I mean, yeah, I guess it was a horror movie. I was trying to think of another genre it might have been, but no, it was a horror movie. It was a PG-13 horror film. Really, that's it. I mean, that's what it was. And this movie definitely was more of a straightforward action movie. It was almost like a teen sci-fi movie. It got really big and grandiose. I immediately said I liked the first one better too, I will say. The second one got really grandiose. You had like FBI characters and like the government was involved, and they were working on like mega weapons, and it got very big in the span of one movie, and I think that was a lot. It wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad movie. It was still fun. It was still really fun. It just wasn't as fun as the first one. The first one had kind of a smaller or a way smaller story, and I think that worked better for like M3gan the character. The story of the first M3gan is basically the classic story of you had this AI like robot. You give it a mission, and when you give an AI robot a mission, it will stop at nothing to accomplish that mission, and then it starts killing people. And then you get to the second one, and it's like, oh, there's FBI involved now, and like the government is here, and like there's money on the line, and yeah. And the thing about the first one doing so well, Fizz, like you said, why the first one did well. That's the thing that I think is funny. You can't rely on TikTok trends like that because there's no reason that it did well. Some teenagers saw M3gan's dance on TikTok and they reposted it. Like it's like definition of lightning in a bottle. You can't always capitalize on that. Yeah, how dare you impede on the well-intended executive producers and studio execs to try to provide quality content. Yeah, no, you can't. You just can't recreate lightning in a bottle like that. You can't recreate TikTok trends, and make blockbuster movies out of it. And yeah, the summertime release too. When you release movies is a big thing too. Releasing a movie in the summer. I didn't even think about that. That's, you've got to make a lot of money if you're releasing a movie in the fucking summertime. I don't think I've seen the Blair Witch documentary. I've seen clips, I've seen bits and pieces. I know the story of it, Those people were just marketing geniuses, though. You know, like handing out missing persons flyers at theaters. You know, they don't do stuff like that anymore. They really don't do cool new things like that anymore. Yeah, I remember back when that movie came out in theaters, when you walked into the theater and you bought a ticket to that movie, they would hand you a missing persons flyer of the cast. You know, these people are missing. And you just don't get stuff like that anymore. Nowadays, you know, they make a website. Which, by the way, Blair Witch was one of the first movies to make a fully like interactable with what the fuck interactable. A fully like you can interact with a website. Like there was a website with the missing people on it too, and Blair Witch was one of the first people to do it. I probably will check it out at some point, honestly. I haven't watched Blair Witch Project in fucking years. But yeah, that stuff that's just not possible anymore. Like it's super that's kind of what the internet did. It kind of ruined marketing for movies, you know. Um the last movie to really be able to do that was Paranormal Activity, which I was in school. I remember seeing Paranormal Activity and thinking it was real. That was the last movie that ever really had that feel of, is this real or not? You know, now if you sit down in the theater and a screen pops up that says this is real, you just Google it on your phone right away and find out that it's not. Oh yeah, I would imagine those old Witch in the Woods stories hit hard over on the East Coast. For sure. It definitely, I would imagine that's where those stories hit the hardest. Paranormal Activity? Yeah, it was that movie was like fucking awesome. That movie scared the shit out of us when that movie came out. Really good example of taking advantage of like technology, like up to date current technology. You know, the home security cam was like a brand new thing. Oh yeah, dude, Paranormal Activity got really bad when they sort of got into like a cult of like a coven of witches and shit. That yeah, they got carried away. That's like the inevitable outcome though of when you keep going with these movies. You know, it's just where else are you gonna go? You know, in Halloween, Michael Myers was a cult member. He was in the cult of Thorn, and you know, I was talking about Texas Chainsaw earlier. You know, Texas Chainsaw Massacre got carried away. It's just it is their fault. It's the studio's fault for continuing and not knowing when to stop. But it's not their fault when it comes to like, well, what else are you gonna do? You know, you can only do a movie about people, you know, in a house with security cameras for so long. You know, you have to start doing things like, oh, let's do a coven of witches and see what happens. Yeah, I know there's the webcam genre has been a thing. Have you seen Megan is Missing? That's the one that I know of. I've seen that one. Megan is Missing is like the worst movie ever. And then you get to the last 20 minutes and it's like actually emotionally scarring. That that movie is such a trip, dude. You know, that's the thing. If the sequels keep making money, they're gonna keep making them, you know. Like no matter how shitty they are, they can be absolute trash. But if they make money, dude, they'll make more. Yeah, Megan is Missing is like the worst movie, the worst acting. But you get to the last 20 minutes, and it is like the most effective 20 minutes, like ever in your fucking life. Watch that movie with a girl too. Oh my god, that had to be the worst. Dude, those last 20 like if you would have just shown me the last 20 minutes, I would have been like, this is the greatest horror film of all time. Like it would have been the scariest shit I'd ever seen in my fucking life. If I only saw the last 20 minutes. When you ask what can we do in reference to movie execs, the question really is, can you do anything more than taking phone calls and saying yes or no to things? Oh yeah, no, 100%. When it comes to movie executives, you know, most of them aren't really creative. You know, they're just guys that got themselves into high paying positions. you know, most of them got lucky like once or twice. And so they got these big high paying jobs. A lot of them don't belong making creative decisions. Rob Zombie talks a lot about when he was making his 2 Halloween movies, working with the Weinsteins and all the studio involvement in his movies. Basically, he would just get phone calls every day from studio executives telling him to put things in the movie. And it would just be based on like what was doing well at the time. I think there's a story about like when he was making the first Halloween movie. What movie was it? When he was making the first Halloween movie, was it the Halloween movie? I don't know. There's something to do with Rob Zombie was making a movie, and during that time, like Howard Stern did something that was really popular, and the studio called him and was like, "Yeah, can we get Howard Stern in the movie?" And he's like, "Dude, I'm shooting a scene where Michael Myers is like stabbing a teenager to death. Like, don't call me about putting Howard Stern in a fucking movie right now just because you looked at the numbers of some show and." They really do think they're creative, but then they just see too much through the lens of like money in the studios are like the stingiest they've ever been today. That's why we only ever get sequels and reboots and remakes, because they don't want to fuck with anything new. They just want to keep making, movies that are based on already existing like intellectual property. Whereas realistically, if they would quit being so stingy, they could go find a whole bunch of new creative young people that want to do cool things, give them $2 million, and they'd make a shit ton of money. But they just want to keep making Star Wars over and over again. And, like South Park says, making it gay and putting a chick in it just because that's what's, cool on the internet right now. It really is crazy. There's probably like a million really good, clever, and creative like screenplays sitting on computers, like owned by nerds living in their mom's basements right now that will never be discovered or seen or turned into movies because the studios are just way too stingy, and they just want to keep making Star Wars and Spider-Man over and over again. And it's like, dude, you realize like if you gave some creative guy $2 million, like there's no risk, dude. Like stop acting like your studio isn't worth $1 billion. That's what it. Yeah, put a chick in it and make it gay. Yeah, that's it. They just want to make Spider-Man over and over again. They just want to put a chick in it and make it gay. Because they're too stingy. They're too stingy. But what's funny about that is they'll spend $100 million on the Spider-Man movie, putting a chick in it and making it gay. And it just makes no sense. Like, I don't even understand the business model anymore. I really don't. They got lucky with Minecraft, in my opinion. They got really lucky with Minecraft. I did not see that movie doing well. I don't see that being a franchise. They're going to make a sequel, 110%. We're going to get a Minecraft sequel. But that one, I'll go ahead and predict that I don't think will do as well. Like, I don't see them making a franchise out of it. No, Fizz. What movie is? I'm not even going to be on here that much longer. So go ahead. Wait, you said there's a movie that. What movie are you talking about? So just put a note. A movie I loved when it came out and recently tickled my feed. And I rewatched it and it still slaps you like a. Yeah, what movie is it? I'm just talking about any movies, like, in general right now, so go ahead. Yeah, no, the first like I said, the first Minecraft, I think they got lucky. I think, the next Minecraft movie they make has to be really good. If it's not really good, that's what I'm saying. If the next Minecraft movie isn't really fucking good, it's not gonna be a profitable franchise. It could be a profitable franchise. Like I said about the first one, it's kinda clever because they're the Minecraft game itself has no story, so you can kinda go anywhere with it. But if they get carried away with it in the next one, I would say that, the franchise that they obviously want to happen is gonna die. The Way of the Gun, I don't think I've ever even heard of it. Let's look this up. Is it Ryan Phillippe or Ryan Philippi? All I know is that guy was in I Know What You Did Last Summer. Oh, Jeffrey Lewis. I'm already interested. The Way of the Gun has Jeffrey Lewis in it. Jeffrey Lewis is the man. 2000 Western heist action thriller. I'm down to check this out. Yeah, I'm down to check this out. One, because it looks like it says it's a Western heist, which I'm super down for. A neo-Western. And it has Jeffrey Lewis. I'm super down for this. Yeah, I only ever knew of Ryan Phillippe from I Know What You Did Last Summer. And then, yeah, Juliette Lewis. I gravitated toward Jeffrey Lewis before I even noticed Juliette Lewis. I know they're obviously both Lewis. What would you call them? Louis? Are multiple Lewises known as Louis? No, I'm kidding. Philippi. Yeah, that's what I thought it was. I just think it's a funny way to pronounce it, unfortunately. Between 2 points, can I earn his money? That is a pretty good. It sounds like, yeah, it's a heist. It sounds like it's a Western heist movie, so that does sound like a good quote to perfectly sum up the plot of the movie. Protomax, I will watch Big Lebowski after The Way of the Gun, but let's be real, I'm not going to watch The Way of the Gun tonight or anything. What's going to happen is I'm going to put it on my list, and I'm going to get to it when I get to it. No offense, Fizz. You'll learn that about me, Fizz. That is everyone's biggest pet peeve when it comes to me, is they recommend me movies, and I do take them seriously and put them on my list because I will watch them. It'll just take me forever. But that's just because, like, on my shelf, I have probably like 100 movies that I haven't watched yet that I've spent money on. Let me tell you what my next plan to watch is. A movie from 1988 called Nightmare. If there's even a trailer for it? Oh yeah, no, there's no official trailer. That's how low budget I'm getting here. Is this movie that I'm gonna watch called Nightmare Sisters doesn't even have a trailer. Yeah. I've been wanting to do movie review stuff. Um, I need to. I need to just suck it up and do it. I don't want to get stuck being like a movie YouTuber, but I know I could do movie reviews on top of, the stuff that I also want to do. Teenage kids getting to watch a movie is like pulling out. Yeah, no, there's just so many movies in the world. It takes forever for me to get to any of these things. And then do a monthly movie tier list at the end of each month. You could do something like that. No, Fizz, I was talking about the trailer for there's a Nightmare Sisters. It's a movie that I just got on Blu-ray. It stars Linnea Quigley. Um, Sometime in the future, you'll notice I'm gonna replace the poster behind me. Claudia Jennings. She's getting replaced with Linnea Quigley. She's one of my favorite 1980s scream queens. Let's see if I can find the picture that I got on the poster. Man, I really hate the way that pictures pull up in in Google. Like I don't want it to just open up on the right side. I want it to open up like on the whole screen. Whatever. You get the gist of it. At some point, you'll notice the poster behind me will be this. Oh, cool, and I'm even blocking it. Yeah, whatever. You see the picture behind me, the girl with the chainsaw. Yeah, I spent way too long trying to get that. Making new movie review scene, just like when people tell me they want to build a PC, I tell them find a case you like first, like having a project car. Oh, dude, I don't even understand how people build PCs nowadays. It's like the craziest thing about the world we live in is that you got kids like building computers and shit. I just cheated. I just bought my computer. Although I will say, after every computer now is like has a see-through case, with all the lights, like what I have now. That's the first time I learned that there's really not shit in a computer, like in the tower. Like, dude, like half of it is just empty space. And then, obviously I think it's all room for the fans or whatever. But oh yeah, Chainsaw Girl. Claudia Jennings, I love Claudia Jennings. She's Claudia Jennings, in my opinion, is like she's not my opinion. She's the queen of the '70s. I mean, she didn't make it out of the '70s, unfortunately. She died in '79. But and so Linnea Quigley to me is like the queen of the '80s, low budget '80s. She's a very low budget movie star. That is true, I guess. If an 11-year-old can build a PC, then so can we. Yeah, that's kind of what I figured when I first noticed that the towers were empty. It's probably space for the fans in the air. Otherwise, they would overheat and shit. Especially with how tough computers are now. Oh yeah, dude. Linnea Quigley. Most of her movies are entirely low budget. I just watched her. She did like a spoof, like a workout video. The '80s were really big on like workout tapes. Like you'd buy a workout video. There's a movie called Linnea Quigley's Horror Workout, and like the first like 5 minutes of it is literally just her in the shower. Like literally just camera shots of like tits and ass of her in the shower, and then the rest of it is she does the like spoof cheesy like '80s workout style stuff where she's just kind of dancing around in her underwear. Yeah, stuff like putting the fans in the right direction and stuff that'd be confusing. So you blow in the cool air. front warmer, I guess the top and back. You know, I got close to considering building before I got the computer I have. I was at least looking at parts. You know, because nowadays it's as easy as it can be. You know, you can go online and buy parts, and something will tell you what parts you need, and this and that, and blah blah blah. Are you saying tell you more about the horror workout movie, the shower scene? I'm trying to think about what other movies Linnea Quigley was in. I mean, I know what other movies, but I'm looking for trailers. Silent Night, Deadly Night, I would say is probably the most popular movie. She was in that movie. She had a very small role. She got impaled on like deer antlers, like on a wall. Now the vibe's about to die entirely. I'm about to get off of here. I was only gonna do an hour tonight. I'm at like an hour and 21 minutes. I'm sweating on here. It's hot in my room. I gotta open up the windows. I was complaining earlier, Fizz. I was supposed to have a co-host. Supposed to have someone else on here tonight, but plans fell through. I'm supposed to be back on tomorrow night though, and I'm gonna have Annie on tomorrow night. So tomorrow I will not be flying solo. I don't know if she wants to talk about stuff. Annie wrote a book, so I was gonna bring her on and bug her about her book, but dude, a good "that's what she said" joke is always timeless. Is the thing. But yeah, tomorrow, Annie wrote a book. Protomax, dude, I was supposed to stream with that Hannah Dawes chick. After we ended our interview last week, before we got off, like, you know, like I ended the recording, but then we talked, and I said, you know, we talked about doing a live stream, and she was like, "Oh, we talked about streaming next week," and then I'm betting money she's gonna message me. Basically, I think she's busy, or not. I think she's busy. I don't actually know what the fuck she's up to. But I hit her up today and said, you know, do you still want to stream? And she just hasn't messaged me back. But she also hasn't posted all day, so I'm betting you she's gonna message me back like sometime tomorrow and be like, "Oh, my bad, I was busy." So I don't know. I could see us streaming together at some point, but you know, so she flaked out on tonight basically. But and I thought that would have been funny. Fizz, I think you would think it's funny. I think you would talk shit to this girl, and I want to see the interaction. But she was also going to stream live to her TikTok, which is what I was mostly interested in. Was that we'd be simultaneously, you know, yeah, I'd be streaming on the channel, and then she would also be live on her TikTok. I think she has like 3,000 followers or some shit last time I saw. But maybe something like she died like today, like we were supposed to stream today, and she died or something in Los Angeles. There's gonna be like an article tomorrow about some girl singer from Los Angeles has passed away or something. Jesus Christ. The book though, no. So actually, you're gonna think it's funny. Annie wrote one of those monster smut books. You know those books that girls like about how like werewolves are like fucking girls and stuff. She even got like, I think she's got somebody like print up copies. Like she's gonna have like physical copies and shit. But it's funny. I thought it'd be cool to bring her to talk about it because it's been kind of a topic, at least on one of the YouTube shows that I keep up on. I guess it's been like a trending topic with girls reading those kinds of fucking books. Like all girls right now are reading like monster sex books and shit. She got arrested for interfering with an ice ray. That would be awesome. That would be great if the girl I interviewed last week popped up on the news tomorrow for being arrested for getting involved with a fucking ice raid. That shit would be hilarious. No, it's gonna be something. It's gonna be something lame. She's gonna message me tomorrow and be like, "Oh yeah, I was hungover. My bad. Like, let's do it next week." It's gonna be something fucking stupid. I was trying to think about if I said anything, like if I fucked up anywhere. And I remember before we stopped talking, I told her, I was like, "Hey, honestly, I thought, I told her something along the lines of like I thought she was gonna be way more vapid than she actually was before we did the video, you know. She was like, actually, I thought she was actually kind of interesting and funny. And so I told her, I was like, oh, to be honest, you have a lot more to say than I thought you were going to. But she laughed and she said, "Oh yeah, I get that all the time. I think people are surprised by it when they actually talk to me." So I was like, "Damn, well, did I go too far saying that?" And like she's mad about it. But I don't think so. I think she actually is just gonna message me back like tomorrow and say like, "Oh, I was busy, my bad. This, that, and the other, blah blah blah." A monster smut book. Oh yeah, and then Protomax, I have a theory. I'll bring it up tomorrow when we're doing the stream with Annie on. I've heard a good theory about why girls like those monster smut books so much, and I think it's a pretty good theory. I don't think Annie probably has her own reasons. I don't apply her to the reason that I have, but I think it's a theory that you will think is probably true, or at least interesting. I think Annie's just into weird stuff. I think that's probably her thing, is she's just into weird stuff. So she likes reading about werewolves, fucking girls and shit. But there is a good theory that I've heard. 1 second, from the root of the sea, the next minute you're from the streets to from the jail. Yeah, no, these LA people, dude, you can't keep these LA people in their slogans. You can't keep them straight anymore. God, yeah, being hungover is the worst thing at this age. I could see how she'd take that offensively, but she didn't confident enough to she didn't take it offensively at all. Like I said, I think she thought it was funny, and we talked after that. Like, she messaged me on Instagram, like a day or two later, you know. So it's not like, and she also hasn't posted for a while, so that kind of leads me to think like, oh, it's not just me that she's flaking on. It seems like she hasn't been online for a day or two. So I'm not as of right now, I'm not taking it as like a she had a problem with me. I'm sure she is, has been up to something. Like I said, I'm sure I'm betting money she's gonna message me tomorrow and be like, "Oh yeah, I was busy, throwing bricks at an ice raiders." No, I don't think that's what it's gonna be, but it'll be something like she's been hungover or some shit. She was really interesting in the interview. Um, because she did a lot of talking about, she had a lot of ideas that were similar to like what I would expect. Like, she talked about, like being a chick singer and how dudes are always, comparing her to this and that and scrutinizing her just because she's a girl. But then we talked about movies, and she said she was talking about how movies suck today because they all pander to like woke audiences and shit. And that threw me off. I was like, "Oh, okay, so you actually have, like, different opinions, like, you're not just an LA girl." You know what I mean? Like, most LA girls wouldn't say that, movies pander to, like, whatever. I'm not getting my point across completely, but yeah, so I thought she was interesting. She didn't just say, basically what I would expect a girl from LA, who dresses and, like, sings the songs that she does to say, basically. Yeah, I was washing my hair. Hey, washing your hair, when I have long hair, I do take a long time to wash my hair. That is an excuse that I will use. I'll wash there in 2025. That is true, but that's why I take so long to wash my hair, because I only wash my hair, like, once every 2 weeks. So you gotta really get in there when you've got that much in there. Yeah, very interesting selection of ideas. Yes, she went back and forth a lot. Um, I can't remember what she said. She said it in the interview. She spent most of her life in LA. She might have been born somewhere and then moved to LA at a young age, or she was born in LA and then moved somewhere and then back to LA. I don't remember, but she basically is. She's pretty LA from what I remember. She was like most. She's lived most of her life in LA. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought too. She actually had some ideas that I thought were like separate from, like I said, what I would expect from an LA girl. And I told her when I made that comment, when I said, "Hey, I thought you were going to be a lot more vapid than you actually were." She said, "Yeah, I think people see me and they expect that I'm going to like talk a certain way or have certain ideas." And I said, No, for me it's mostly just the LA thing, honestly. Like when I think about any girl from LA, like West Hollywood girl who goes to the club, like that literally that is she's like a West Hollywood girl that goes to clubs. That's where I got the idea that she was gonna be kind of vapid. It didn't have much to do with like her looks in general. It was just LA clubbing, West Hollywood clubs and shit. Yeah, no, she ended up being super interesting. So I was excited to stream with her. I am hoping that she does message me at some point and it's like, "Oh yeah, my bad, I was busy. Do you wanna," I'm hoping we take a rain check. I'm hoping we do get to end up streaming at some point. Because yeah, I wanted to talk to her about, like the Sabrina Carpenter thing. I wanted to talk about what do you think about Sabrina Carpenter basically getting bullied online to the point of having to change her album cover because girls say it's not feminist enough. I think she would have had an interesting take on that. Fizz, yeah, we also have to say, I noticed this, you say Northern California. When I tell people I'm from California, I always have to specify, uh, where I'm from in California. Like we drove around the back roads for fun. I'm not, I'm sure you have the same thing. You said from California, and then they say, oh, and then you have to specify. Well, no, I'm from Northern California, which is like a whole different world. You tell people California, they automatically assume Los Angeles. Yeah, California is the worst fucking state in the country for sure. I feel pretty comfortable saying that. Even living in Northern California. But all right, I'm gonna go. Whatever you guys are typing, get in the last chat. It's way too hot. It's way too hot. I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna go open the windows. Yeah, exactly. You have to specify. No, I'm not the kind of California that you see on the news. I spent all my time, drinking and driving in the country roads. I didn't spend my time going to clubs. I spent my, yeah, the club was the back roads. Central California. Yeah, that too. I have also spent a lot of time in no, I'm thinking of the wrong. I'm thinking of Central Valley, not Central California. Yeah, SoCal is meth privilege, and cocaine. Protomax, it's all good. It's all good. Like I said, I'll have someone on tomorrow, so I'll have someone to talk to. Going to the casino. Don't lose too much. If you turn 20 into 40, just call it good. That's what I would say. That is true. That is true. Watch out for pickpockets. Watch out for pickpockets. And I like the term fast women. I'll change up the loose women and say fast women. I've been liking that term. You call girls fast women a lot. Right on, right on. All right, yeah, I'm out of here. Proto Max, I'll see you whenever. Fizz, if you're here tomorrow night, awesome. If you're not, it's totally all good. Like I said, I will at least have a co-host on to keep me preoccupied for whether you guys are gonna be around or not. And then yeah, tomorrow we'll talk about more than just the book. There's other stuff I'm sure we'll get into, but oh dude, being a casino dealer has to be a hilarious job. Probably has to be one of the funniest jobs of all time, honestly. Let me make sure there's no other live viewers. All right, cool. Yeah, there's no one else. I think there's one other person than you guys. Bell notifications ain't working. YouTube bell notifications suck. Even if I have them on, they never work. And when I don't have them on, I get notifications for people when they go live. That's always the worst. So yeah, no, you always come in at a fine time. You know, if I ever start here, it's always 6 o'clock Wednesdays for the most part. 6 o'clock. But yeah, no, you're always good, Fizz. You're always good. Yeah, that is a good point. Just put down 40. Or if it's since it's a birthday, maybe put down like 60 to 80, do a little bit more, but then call it good at that. Make that money back, put it in your pocket. Yeah, you always gotta have a system if you're gonna gamble. You can't be going in there with no system, getting carried away. You crash out, don't dip into your cash. Yeah, that is true. That is true. That is where the self-control comes into play. Oh, fucking gambling. I've not spent a lot of time gambling. It does sound like your brother's got a good system though. I mean, I'm sweating into my headphones. All right, yeah, I'm hitting the outro. Fizz, thanks for hanging out. Proto Max, thanks for hanging out. I'll catch you guys either tomorrow or sometime next week. Yeah, whatever. You guys know the drill. You guys know the drill. Self-control is the key with everything too, not just gambling. Those are the parting words for the stream tonight. Actually, self-control is key. Self-control is key with everything, including making sequels in Hollywood. Those fucking Hollywood execs, they need to practice self-control too. Yeah, all the lovely fuckers tonight. All the lovely fuckers have a wonderful night.
And we're all here today to groove and have a beautiful time together, and that it's only the beginning.